could be wrong about this, but there was a moment yesterday toward the end of practice where you had Lazard, Cobb, and Watkins out there, and you haven't had a lot of opportunities for that earlier in this camp because of injuries. But you're out there in full pads, going against you. Was that an important series to see those guys all together?
Well, it's always important to have all those guys out there, and just really for the continuity with our quarterback, and so yeah, it's always good to have your full arsenal of weapons.
What have you decided for the game on the starters?
I don't know. What do you think we should do, Rob?
I wouldn't want to be in your position. There's no right answer.
No, we're not going to play him.
On either side of the ball?
No. I shouldn't say it's not necessarily everybody. Basically, everybody that's been playing is going to continue to play. So some of obviously our offensive line will be out there.
What's the bottom line on it in your mind? Just the risk factor?
Yeah, it's just the risk versus reward, knowing it's a long season, having 17 games. I think early on we get stressed, with travel in the season as well. Just trying to think of just factor in everything, and I do think we're just because it's easy to sit back, like I mentioned the other day, and compare how you've fared in years past and whatnot. And I think there are a lot of lessons that you take from those experiences that hopefully having gone through that will help us avoid maybe a similar situation. But I look at our team, I think we're in a much different place than we were a year ago, especially on the defense side of the ball with the continuity that we have there. And, offensively, like I said, I think we hopefully will have learned from our past mistakes.
I'm not asking you to compare or contrast, but your fourth camp's wrapping up. Just what do you think you got out of this last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think we've gotten a lot of good work. Certainly the practices, I think, versus the Saints were pretty successful in terms of just, growing as a football team. So I like where we're at, but again, you really don't really know until you start playing games. And do I think that we still have a ton of things to work on? Absolutely. I don't think we're anywhere near being a finished product. I think that we're going to rely on some guys that don't have a lot of familiarity with whatever phase they're involved in, and we still got some guys that we're hopeful to get back here eventually. So I think there's a lot of room to improve upon, and we got to make sure that we're diligent in that process.
Along those lines, you saw the practice and game to go, but how do you think you've come out of this so far, health-wise, and good or bad? What do you attribute that to?
I don't want to jinx anything, Pete. So, but right now we're doing pretty well. I think it's just everybody working together. I think it's our team also just being smart when we're out at practice, trying to keep each other up, avoid unnecessary collisions, although we did have a couple yesterday. Just it's everything. It's talking with our strength and conditioning coaches in terms of just the player load. Certainly our athletic trainers are heavily involved in that process, and everybody it's the collaboration of all of us working together to try to make sure that we're getting enough work in, yet still taking care of these guys' bodies. And it's, quite frankly, it's our guys doing a good job of taking care of their own body.
Is Christian Watson the guy you'll sit as well, or do you want to try to get him in?
Well, yeah, we'll see where he's at, and but I think if you're asking me with young players, if he's able to go, he will go.
We talked a lot about Bakhtiari, but how's Elton Jenkins coming along? He's been in 2 weeks or so of practice now.
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job, and he's chomping at the bit to get out there and with some of the team reps and whatnot, and we'll see where we're at after this week.
Is there any concern that Mason Crosby won't be ready for Minnesota?
I think there's always concern when you're talking about a kicker that's coming off an injury like that, and but I think we like where he's at, if that answers anything. But I don't have a crystal ball. So, but he's made good progress. I think he feels confident, and again, we'll just take it one day at a time and see where he's at.
Yesterday we saw Amari Rodgers in the backfield. Is that just another dimension to this offense, or is this something that it's an opportunity to work them in it?
Yeah, I think it's all fluid. You might see other guys back there as well. So just try to become, as multi-dimensional as possible and give the defense another thing to potentially worry about.
And the one thing you have been able to do is play your offensive line together throughout, pretty much the whole camp. And I know Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins, but how valuable has it been for those 5 guys who've just been playing over and over at the same time?
Yeah, those guys have gotten a lot of great work, and it hasn't always been pretty. I think they're going up against a pretty good front, and those guys, have taken their lumps, but I've also seen a lot of improvement as well. So happy about that. I think they've performed pretty well in our 2 preseason games, and so we're looking to continue to build upon that in this next preseason game.
Matt, how beneficial do you think it's been for Quay being able to kind of relay some of the defensive calls in that and just being able to get the reps that he has in the preseason so far?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for all those young players, but in particular in that position, to kind of be the quarterback of the defense, I think is so valuable, and making sure that you have ownership over every call that's going in, and everything that's going on out there, and making sure the communication's on point, because you kind of set the defense.
What do you thought of that battle at outside linebacker? It seems like you've had a different guy or a different combination every day with those 2s and 3s.
Yeah, I think it's a very tight battle, and hopefully over the next 2 days it helps clarify itself a little bit easier for us to make those tough decisions.
Is that special teams mostly, or how do you?
I think that's a big factor, no question. In terms of who's going to provide support there. Certainly, we have to be in a 3-4 base defense. You're essentially losing one of those inside linebacker bodies, being that you really only have 2 positions at inside backer. So, how do you supplement that? Well, you definitely have to do it from that outside linebacker room. Just the size of the bodies, and those guys are working hard, and I feel like they've, of any group, have probably grown as much as anybody on our team, just collectively, that group.
What do you think of the summer Devontae Wyatt has had?
Again, it's a lot of learning for him, and I think when you talk about that position, that's one of the tougher positions to kind of acclimate quickly to the National Football League. That outside linebacker, are especially on the defensive side of the ball, I think those are 2 of the toughest ones. Just learning how to work edges and set people up. It's not like the linemen in this league are much better than what they probably go against in college. So there's been a lot of great learning lessons along the way, but he's a guy that we have a lot of confidence in. You can see it. It's in his body, and it's just, getting it out of him. And one thing that, to his credit, he has been contributing on teams as well, which you don't really see too many D linemen do that. But certainly, it's wherever he can help us.
Who's going to call the offensive plays on Thursday?
I'll call it to start out, and then we'll transition to Steno.
So when other teams in the league are having live tackling in camp, or Andy is playing Mahomes for 2 or 3 series, last weekend, you ever consider that going on around the league? Or what at the end of the day makes you feel good about your decision?
Yeah, I think everybody's got their own opinion on it, and we're going to worry about the Green Bay Packers and what's best for us. And I would say that there's a lot of guys that don't play their guys too. So what's the right answer? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. It's whatever works. So, but we're confident in our process and just the number of reps and how we're working our guys to get them to where they need to be. And I'll let you guys criticize all our decisions.
2 more?
Rasul and Eric yesterday were telling us just how much they feed off each other. The 2 of them plus Jaw, that trio have not played a whole lot of live game snaps together. How have you kind of just seen them find that chemistry and build on it this training?
Well, you can see it. Those guys, they love to compete, and they bring it every day. And I think they just, you said it, they feed off each other. That competitiveness, it's contagious. That energy is contagious. That's a great room. They love to talk a lot in that room, which I think is a good thing. It just amps up the intensity level out at practice. So those guys are definitely making our receivers better, whoever they're covering. They're doing a great job, and we're lucky to have 3 guys like that.
You know, it used to be you play that Thursday game, you'd have to make your decisions on the roster on Friday and then, you know, cut down was on Saturday. Now you have what, like four days to sit there and stew over, you know, what you're gonna do. How do you keep from, you know, it becoming second guessing yourself and not making the decisions? What's the process like?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit unique, I would say, this year, in the fact that we've got this early game and there's still gonna be games after us, and it's also, how do you practice the next couple days, knowing what's in front of you? Because certainly we don't want to just take off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then make the cuts on Tuesday. We're gonna try to go out there and get a couple good practices prior to the cuts. So I think that all that there's been a lot of discussion on how we best handle that. So right now, you know, Friday they'll be off. Saturday we're just going to do a light lift and film review with the guys, and then we'll practice Sunday, Monday. But no, that's a great question, Spoon, that I don't know what the right answer is again. But just a lot of people having a lot of conversations between myself and our staff and Goody and his staff, and just to provide our team with the best 53.
So conceivably a guy could maybe change your mind on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I think anything's possible.
Where would you cut guys, Matt, just so you don't, if you're gonna move on, you don't want a guy getting hurt and having to pay him for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, that's a great question for Goody.